Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I haven't done a video in a while. Been kind of busy. Looking to get back into creating content for the channel and hopefully can get a few things out over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, just gonna jump right into this one. This is a video that I think has been made a lot of times, just because people like to test the low end of stuff, and there's a lot of people that have to work on a budget, and that's fine. It is what it is. A lot of people can't buy the 3090s or the 6900 XTs. It is what it is. Not all of us have a lot of money to spend on computers, but we still want to get a good gaming experience. So the video today is me taking a look at the classic 1030 from Nvidia. I believe it's a 2 GB variant, and just seeing if you can get any kind of gaming performance out of a card, that firstly old and secondly weak, because it is an extremely weak card, but it's also an extremely cheap card. So just gonna clean the card up, clean it up, repaste it, take a good look at the card itself, and then gonna put it into my rig as I've done in past videos, and let's see if we can extract a little bit of gaming performance from it. So firstly, let's get to the cleanup. Let's do it. Okay, so as you could see in the previous part of the video, we got the GPU nice and cleaned up. pretty easy to do. Unfortunately, I didn't have small enough screwdriver to remove the really small screws from the GPU. It had like really tiny screws, and but I found it wasn't really necessary to do to remove them because they were in this little fin stack here, this little heat dissipation um, fin. There was a little bit of dust trapped inside, and how you would open it usually is when you remove these main screws, there's little screws that you can see through there, little screws that hold the the fin in place, and then this fan has little screws as well. But I couldn't remove any of those, so I just cleaned it up as you saw through the little fan hole here with the fan still inside, but everything came out because it could all just fall through. So I got it pretty clean. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. It's clean enough, and I repasted the thermal paste on the little die there. Really small die, by the way. So yeah, that's it for the cleaning part of the video. Let's move on to testing. Let's do it. All right, here we are loading into the Hitman test that we've done a few times on the channel now, and straight off the bat, getting around 30 to 40 FPS. This is on the lowest settings, but it is running at HD. So, you know, this seems kind of playable so far. Getting up to 50s now, and visually, it's actually not that bad. It looks pretty good. Yeah, it's the GPU is pegged at around 100% utilization all the time, so working hard. The temperature is pretty good, but the panel is off of the computer right now, and it is using around 1.8 gigs of video memory. This is a 2 gig card. Other than that, CPU isn't doing much. The FPS is always around like 30 to 40, but like mostly upper 30s, and this is a very crowded scene, so if you are willing to turn down the graphics, it's definitely playable. And it doesn't even look bad. Like, this actually looks quite nice. A lot of reflections and lighting going on as well, so definitely a decent result. Getting low 30s, high 40s now. As the camera changes, and the GPU is just constantly working hard. Temperature at around 43 degrees Celsius now, and yeah, this is an older game, but it still looks really good and really good result. Let's check out the next one. Loading into the Far Cry New Dawn benchmark, and again getting 30s right off the bat. GPU is at around 100% utilization again, so working hard. Again, this is at HD resolution, you know, 1K, so this is at the upper resolution that this graphics card was meant to handle. And so I'd wager if you lowered the resolution to like 720p or lower, you could probably get a few extra frames, maybe around 5. And this is just pegged around like 30 FPS, which to some people is playable. This is dropping a little bit, so not the best result, but you know, what would you expect? I think for this one you would have to play at 720p or lower, but it still seems playable, and again, looks really good. So let's check out the next one. Okay, getting into Doom Eternal, yeah. And for this one I've actually lowered the resolution to 720p because at HD it was again around 30s, but I feel like that's the result we've been getting for most games. So I decided to just do 720p, and this is at low, but definitely playable, and still looks pretty good even at HD. Even on this biggish screen, doesn't look bad. which is a credit to the game itself. Let me skip this. Okay, outside dropping to like 30 to 40, still playable. That's a big boy. Can't reach it. Come on. Ah. And so it looks like, again, we're getting like 45 frames around there. And yeah, looking pretty good. 30 to 40 frames more or less seems to be the result. Occasionally going into the 50s, and this is definitely playable. GPU is working really hard again, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result, to be honest. I think it looks pretty good, feels quite nice. It's not perfect, but at 720p you can definitely play this. So yeah, nice. Let's move on to the last test. Alright, so for the last test I've decided to try some Northgard, and yeah, right off the bat this looks really good. It's running at full HD actually, and yeah, it seems to be around 50 to 60 FPS most of the time, which is a good result. I don't really know much about this game still. Probably need to play it a little bit. But the GPU for once isn't pegged at around 100% all the time. It actually doesn't work that hard for this. And these graphics are easy to run. This is running at maximum. But, you know, for a lot of people that generally play games like strategy games or MOBAs or games like those, a card like this is enough. And when you don't have that big of a budget, you don't always need you know, the best kind of card, because this is running really well. I mean, this is at max graphics, all of the effects turned on at HD, and it looks really nice, runs quite well. It's a very playable result. And so if the question is if I can recommend this card for these kinds of games, I would definitely say yes. I wouldn't recommend it for everything, but I mean, you can play Doom Eternal on it, you could easily play Counter-Strike Go on it, MOBAs, strategy games like these, probably games like FIFA at lower graphics. So, can you game on this? Definitely. Let's talk about it a little bit. This is a really good result for the price, I must say. Okay, so let's talk about the result. For how much these cards go for, I feel like this was a really good result. I feel like, you know, you can definitely use it for gaming. This card costs about, in South Africa, it costs about like $40, you know, something like 700 Rand. And if you're on a really strict budget and you have, say, $200 in total to spend on a $250 to spend on a gaming computer, and for that you need to get a screen, you need to get a graphics card, RAM, CPU, motherboard, hard drives, maybe even an SSD, everything. And you want to play like strategy games, you want to play a little bit of FPS at low settings, you want to play some esports titles, Rocket League, MOBAs, Dota, and things like those, you know. Especially strategy games, I would say, even on a big screen, even you know, at high resolution. So for the benchmarks, I tested the games at 720p and HD, and yeah, you know, at HD it isn't always playable. It's like right about 30 FPS, which for some people is playable, but for most of us it'll be like you need to get at least like 45 frames or something like that. But if you lower the resolutions, I'm sure you could get that with this. And if you look at the card itself, as you saw when I was cleaning it, it's a very basic card. This one is nice looking because it actually has like It has no backplate, but it has the full front mesh here with a fan and the heat sinks and everything. It has a little plastic cover, all of that, and it's a decent looking card, if that matters to you at all. At this price, maybe it doesn't, but I feel like for what you would pay for it, it's definitely something that could work. Obviously, you're not gonna play Warzone at max graphics on QHD with this, but that's not what it's meant for. So if you're someone that wants to get into gaming or wants to get back into gaming and loves slower strategy type of games or FPSs or something like that, I would definitely say you could go for it. For the price, you could build a media PC with it. It has an HD out. I think most of them would. Some would even have display ports. So yeah, definitely a usable card. And would I recommend it for the price? I would. So thanks for watching the video. That's it for this one. Hopefully you like the content. I'll try and post more regularly. It's difficult with work, but yeah, hope you like the video. Let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions, and if you can leave a comment or something like that. It would help me out a lot. Interact with me, and hopefully subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again. Thanks for watching. Cheers.